In the early 1900s, another royal monarch made her mark on her people as a 19-year-old Queen Salote became the first and only ruling queen of Tonga.
She had to grow up very, very quickly.
If you want to be a model Tongan, well, that's your model.
She did not have an easy time. You know, Tongan nobles were constantly conspiring against her, males as a young female.
Queen Salote's succession to the throne was rigorously opposed by the previous dynastic lines of leadership, who disputed the new system of constitutional rule. In the period of her reign, after the First World War, Tonga faced huge social and global upheavals. Under the leadership of the young Salote, whose position as queen was controversial from the very inception.
Not only was succession via a constitution still very much in its infancy, but then she was a woman, unheard of, right? And then she was her father's only child. So the actual succession to the throne of Tupo, you know, was very, very, touchy.
She lived in a time where it was very difficult in Tonga to be a monarch and a queen. And there were still a lot of people who weren't very comfortable with that idea. And I think she pushed through that by creating opportunities for women. Like Nafanua, she established that herself. And also appointing nobles and people's representatives. I think she created a lot of opportunities, and she showed immense faith, I think, in what she did.
Steeped in the Tongan tradition, where the sister in the family holds the central significance, the fahu, Queen Salote was noted for recognising the modern change in attitudes towards women and cautioned against what she considered were male-centric whakapālangi ways, where Tongans aspired to a European lifestyle.
She used to take time off to call all the students together and, explain to them what I now understand, the ways by which you developed your bicultural knowledge. Interpreting Palangi culture to Tonga back then was not easy because our only contact with the world was one ship a month.
Queen Salote was renowned for her promotion of a strong sense of Tongan national identity, and she made huge commitments, particularly to the education of young students. Her education initiatives extended outside the kingdom to students on scholarships studying in New Zealand, where she often visited.
Queen Salote, had her students come to share the grounds of Atalanga, you know. This was their summer home. But she was like, oh, there are too many Tongan students here in Auckland. You guys need to come and stay here. That generosity, that concern, she followed up. If you didn't do your homework or didn't go to lectures, she was on your case, And I think our people needed that kind of concern. It's not like, okay, see you later, I don't know what you do at university, but just bring back the degree and the money,
The event that famously endeared Queen Salote to the world was the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, when the Tongan leader rode through the crowds and, in deference to the young British Queen, didn't put the carriage roof up when it rained. Her public successes belied much of the private tragedy of her life, however. Her mother died when she was an infant and her father when she was 18. Queen Salote also lost her second son at birth, moments often expressed in musical composition and poetry.
Most of her compositions were either before or after a certain loss in her life or bereavement. And I think she just concentrated on putting it to words and music. And everyone still listens to them up to today.
She would have me sleep beside her in my own bed when I was growing up, and I would watch her in the evenings sometimes when she was supposed to be sleeping, actually saying lyrics or making hand movements that would eventually become a dance song, something, because as a poet and as a composer, the tune, the word, the choreography came out of her simultaneously.
To ai uha I he funga mauni teni. Hifo he te lea mamahi. Vai tawhe ai ki he o seni. O hoko ko ha ko nā I.
Her poetry, you know, is so, it's like, wow. It exposes her vulnerability. It shows her as a woman.
I think she's no different from all of us. Our personal lives can either strengthen you or cripple you, you know, and if you overcome the traumas in our personal lives, they strengthen us.
Because she was a queen, some of her needs as a woman weren't being met, you know? So medical needs, because she was a queen, she could not be treated in Tonga by Tongans because the body of the queen is tapu, right? Dentists wouldn't go in her mouth, let alone a gynecologist do what needed to be done to make sure she was healthy, you know? So it's kind of astonishing to think about things like that, you know, that what being tapu or what being a person of chiefly status can mean for a human being, yeah?
Today in Tonga, Queen Salote College stands as testament to the royal leader's lasting influence.
A girl that comes to this school should be developed as a whole being, a whole person, and that refers to her spiritual, physical, and intellectual development.
We've recently added deputy ministers into government, and 2 of them are women. So I think it's been slow, but at the same time, we're glad it's happened, but we still have a lot more hurdles than, say, men in power.
You start right at the bottom. Punanganui. Look at who's cooking the curries, who's selling the donuts and stuff. Mainly women, right? That level. And then come up again, a lot of our women are in business, their own businesses. Fantastic contribution, except we are not up there with the play in the medical field, science. There's always a big gap there. We've only got 1 or 2 women doctors. That's not enough.
Well, there's the legend of the building of the houses by both men and women, if you like, the sexes building a house. And by daylight, the women had finished everything, and the men had not. And so we have that saying, "Eaule na ilau tamaita," meaning that whatever the women do, they always complete it.
Today in the modern Pacific, women are making their mark in many new arenas, some traditionally the domain of men. In Tonga, while Princess PILOLEVU remains a royal figurehead, she's noted for her many dealings in the commercial sector. She owns numerous local businesses, including satellite communications company Tongsat, run from Hong Kong, as well as other business dealings with China.
I first went into business, I think, just under 20 years ago. And the international meetings I had with foreign business people were very male-dominated. As a Polynesian woman, I've found it extremely interesting, and I'm still learning about business, and especially about people.
She's a businesswoman, but then she's a Tongan businesswoman because she gives out so much, you know? I think it's that we concept of leadership.
Despite public accusations about her profiteering at the expense of the Tongan public, PILOLEVU's undoubted popularity was apparent during the recent civil servants' strike. In a historical move, she led the Privy Council to take an offer directly to the commoners who cheered as she walked cabinet members through the mud.
Before, we hardly see the royal families, but today they walked on the road and they walk in it. It's very nice. It's giving us warm-hearted.
From a daughter's perspective, I think a lot of people don't realize or are not familiar with the fact that she goes through a lot of bad things as well as a lot of good things. There are times when she feels bewildered by most challenges, and then you see her kind of regenerate herself, encourages herself, just pushes on and pushes through.
I myself am adjusting and changing to what is demanded of me as a businesswoman and as a Christian and as a member of the royal family. So I have basically found my tradition, as I have found my belief in Christianity, as a very fortifying strength. Basically, to me, human beings need something to believe in, and your faith and your tradition should be able to help you, to fortify you for the changing times and challenges.